Hi guys, this is going to be the late review for Assassin's Creed Origins, and I don't really have a format. This is the way I'm going to run it though. Just going to see if I can go over a couple points. It's going to be story, time, value, price, fun, how I played through the game, and how the loot system was. Or at least that's the criteria for this specific game. I don't really have a format. If you guys want to give me some tips and stuff, maybe write it down in the description. I'll read it and we'll improve from there. This whole series, I don't know how it's going to run because I want to do a couple of them, and it's only going to be games that I do get and finish and that I really play through and have like a complete opinion of. So, first point that I want to make is, or that we're going to go over, is story. Okay, so the story of Assassin's Creed Origin is set in ancient Egypt, and you play as the character. His name's Bayek, and also another character, Aya, who is his wife. Yeah. So going through the story, it's about the origins of the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. I'm sure if you've played some of the other games, you'll understand that they are the people that you play as through the Animus. The Animus is a like kind of um, putting yourself in the shoes of someone else in history. The main character, the candidate in this game, her name is Leia. I think I can't even remember. But anyways, her name's Leia, and she I like her story actually. You read through it when you jump out of the Animus, and you just pop open her laptop, and there's a bunch of photos, file recordings, and notes, and it kind of explains her story where she was kicked out of Obsergo, and for asking too many questions. I guess you want to get somewhere. The point was that you need to not ask questions. So I like her as a character, and the way you explore her is by leaving the Animus and then just kind of playing around with her a little bit, and then reading through her laptop. Then there's a couple like times where you pulled out for reasons throughout the game, but not trying to spoil too much. Yeah, so that's about her, and I really like her as a character. But then going to the main character, Bayek, you play through him for, let's say, about 90% of the game. Yeah, pretty much 90% of the game you're playing as him. So yeah, he, I kind of like him. Hey, you do get to by all the missions in the game. You get to understand his character, where he's coming from. He seems like he's a very family orientated character, and he always wants to be helping and improving, and that's because of his job as a magi. Magi is in the game is a person that is helping the protector, the guy that just helps like anything you want done in the city, like kill someone, steal something, rescue a cat from a tree. It's kind of him. That's Bayek. And throughout the game, it gets him into a bit of trouble with some people called the Order of Ancients. They are an ancient group, and then they have their leaders as different animals. I kind of wanted to mention them, but I won't because it kind of ruins some of the points. And they actually, all of these Order of the Ancient people, each one of them, they're based off an animal, and every quest and side quest in the region of the game has something to do with them. Whereas, let's say for example, I guess I'm gonna not be able to put no spoilers in the review, but so let's say there's this character. Her name's the Crocodile, right? So everything that she does in the region, right, is based off crocodiles. So all the side quests are, the crocodiles are getting poisoned. Figure out why. The main guard in the area, I think it's Set or Sobek, yes, Sobek, the guard, and then her representation, the Egyptian god, and her representation is a crocodile. So it encompasses a lot of the stuff. Like everything is related in the region, and then towards the main character or the main villain of that region, and all the side quests lead up to it. And it's tied in quite well. But talking about side quests, a lot of the story is hidden behind them. You can go through the main story, just power through, but if you want 100% of knowing everything in the game, you're going to have to do side quests. And I like that it's optional and the story makes sense even without, but then it kind of makes the side quest redundant once you've completed the main story for the region. If you do the main story and then do side quests after, it's kind of like they kind of mention things about a person, but you've already like defeated the boss, killed them, or whatever. So it kind of doesn't make sense. Whereas if you do all the side quests, it keeps building this villain, and you understand why people dislike them in the region and why you have to take them out and so on. So the preferred way to would do things would be to do side quests and then the main story. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Like, to get 100% of the story, you're gonna have to go through the side quest, and yeah, and also stop a lot, read all the scrolls and lore of the world. But the story makes sense enough without the side quests explaining it. So if you just want to go power through, that's a good way to go. Next, we're gonna go on to time. The game took me quite a while. I played it profusely since the day it came out. I didn't get it early or anything. I went to the shops and I bought it around about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, right? So ever since then, it took me about 10 days to complete the game. Well, it took 14 days to complete the game. It took 2 weeks. Only 10 days of playing. I took a couple of days off to go do some other stuff in between. So the first, like, I'd say about 3 or 4 days, I played about 10, 11 hours, and then afterwards started falling off as it was getting later, played for a little bit less. The kind of excitement wore off a little bit, and I just wanted to get it done. So in total, it took me about 92 hours to complete the game. 100%. This means every statue destroyed, every area unlocked, every trophy done, every location completed, every secret found, all the outfits, most of the weapons, so on and so forth. Yeah, so, but 9 hours, 10 hours of that was done farming resources for upgrading things, and I'd say about maybe 10 hours was just sitting around taking photos, maybe eating, drinking a coffee, like just not closing the game. So yeah, if you want to use some of the Helix credits to use the time saver packs, as the microtransaction calls them, they quite literally are time savers, because instead of spending 9 hours farming, you could just spend 9 hours less and enjoy the game. So yeah, so I think if you have a job, the game is quite long. For me, that just sat around and played it. It was pretty fun being able to do nothing but play Assassin's Creed for two weeks. But a lot of my friends who bought the game at the exact same time I did, for day one, and they have full-time office jobs. They have to be picky with their time, and it seems that they didn't get as far, but also they didn't finish the game in 2 weeks, and they get to play it for a lot longer. So if you have a job, there's quite a lot in the game, and if you do want to 100% it, then you're going to have to think about how you want to manage and spend your time. Whereas if you want to do everything in the game, it's going to take about 90 hours to just do it without buying any of the microtransactions. Next, I'm going to go on to value, and I need to just put a disclaimer here that yes, I live in South Africa, so all these values are going to be in rand denominations, and that's our currency. So if you want to check out the price for your country and it's not South Africa, I'm sure you could just check out your own online store or brick and mortar store to see the values. So I bought the deluxe edition of the game from a brick and mortar store for 915 Rand, 915. Whereas on the digital store, the base edition of the game is 999, which for me makes me feel like I lucked out and I got extra value and extra content. I did for a lower price. Whereas personally, I don't think that the digital deluxe edition is going to be worth it, as the only benefits are an additional mission and some ability points and 2 weapons and a shield. So and it's not like and we'll get to the loot system later and why and a more in-depth analysis of that later. But I don't think that there's any reason other than to buy maybe the base edition of the game or the season pass, the gold edition of the game if you want the season pass, as it ends up being cheaper to buy it that way if you want the additional content. So I think that's a pretty but that's pretty much all I have to say on it. If you want to get the game, just get the base edition, and if you are going to be buying the additional DLC later, maybe get I think it's the gold edition or the ultimate edition or whatever the edition is that comes with the season pass, because that should save you a little bit of value in the long run. Okay, so next point I'm going to move on to is how I played. I started on day one, like the rest of us plebeians who don't get things early, and I spent about the first 4 days doing nothing but play Assassin's Creed, wake up, play Assassin's Creed, fall asleep and wake up, play Assassin's Creed, and pretty much Assassin's Creed, sleep, repeat. Thereafter, I started to fall off. I went to go, Thor Ragnarok came out, and I ended up watching that. I went to go visit some family, and as soon as I was pulled out of the game, it started becoming less fun, and the initial like wow factor. Once that was removed, the game started. I started playing less of it a day, and it started taking longer. So this also ties back into the point from earlier where I was saying if you have a job or you're going to get pulled out and you don't get to play constantly, that the game's maybe you're not going to be able to complete all of it because you're going to start playing less, or you're going to lose that initial wow factor. And the way I played was, because I had the time, I completed everything. I finished every puzzle, I found every secret tomb, I completed every location, I did every side quest. I bought all my weapons, I found them, I killed every enemy. I did everything like I don't know, I guess the way the game was designed. I didn't spend any microtransactions, I didn't speed up anything. I bought and played and completed the game the as is. There was nothing extra that I did or something other than the Ubisoft Club, which is a feature I think of all Ubisoft games, and if you play a couple of Ubisoft games you get some points and you get to buy things. The only thing that I bought from there was I think the Ezio outfit, and there was a bow early in the game that you could buy that came I think at about level 10, and it was a gold tier weapon, whereas the rest were purple. That's the only thing I did, and the funny thing was I couldn't even use it because I think I was level 8 or whatever or so when I bought it, and then by the time I got to level 10 obviously I had better weapons. But yeah, that's how. Next I'm going to go on to the loot system of the game. Everything in the game comes in I think 3 rarities. It goes blue, purple, gold, from bottom to top, and the loot is handed out like candy. the difference between each tier of weapon or whatever, I guess the only difference is weapons, is that they come with an additional perk. Blue has 1, purple has 2, and then gold has 3. Obviously, you want 3 perks because in totality, if you're hitting someone with a sword, the damage might be relatively the same, but then due to the perk, you might set them on fire or so on. There's quite a lot of loot in the game. If you're gonna run from beginning to end, you don't really need to spend anything on microtransactions, as you will get everything you need. And I ran around most of the game using purples instead of like the gold. I didn't run around using a complete gold set because sometimes you just get a better weapon in the purple as opposed to a gold, cause it is the archetype you would prefer. It's like maybe a longer weapon as opposed to a shorter weapon. Even though it's a lower level, it still works out. And I didn't, even once I hit the level cap, I still used a lot of the weapons that were a lot lower level because I just preferred them. And you will get a lot of loot. Just playing through the game, doing some chariot races, doing some arenas, you will get outfits, you will get mounts, you will get weapons from just completing the game. And you don't need to worry about spending money on microtransactions. If you go from beginning to end, I guarantee you will get everything you need, especially with the nomad vendor. His name's Reba, and he has like the loot box thing. The loot boxes don't need any real world money. It's all bought through in-game currency, and he has a daily quest, which I recommend doing. Whether or not if that's like your only thing you do on the day for Assassin's Creed, just go log in just go into the game, finish his quest, and you will be guaranteed a purple or gold tier weapon. And this really boosted me because I was able to complete, I think, about 10 or 11 of these quests, therefore getting 10 or 11 purples and gold. I'd like to just say that in conclusion, I really liked Assassin's Creed Origins, and it reminds me and fits into the same category of a large game that into the lights of the recent ones being Horizon and Final Fantasy 15, where it's a large open world and there's a million things to do, as that is my favorite type of game. Some things that I wish were better about the game was that I wish that there was maybe a checklist or just some quality of life things, but in totality, as a package as a whole, I did like it.